Living alone as an older man can be one of the most transformative and enriching experiences one could ever have. It goes beyond just the luxury of peace and quiet. It's about creating a sanctuary that is uniquely yours, a place where passions, interests, and aspirations can take center stage. Picture it, a life where every room reflects your tastes, every morning begins on your terms, and every moment is an opportunity to rediscover who you are. This isn't just about solitude, it's about embracing a journey of self-growth, freedom, and personal satisfaction. Over the years, many of us have spent significant time on our own, and the wisdom gained from this period can become one of life's greatest treasures. It's an experience that offers so much more than what meets the eye. Today, we're not just listing the benefits, we're diving into the heart of what makes living solo such a rewarding chapter. We'll touch on emotional empowerment, the practical joys, and the unexpected blessings that come when you carve out a space entirely for yourself. So, whether you're already embracing the solo lifestyle or still considering it, this conversation is for you. We're drawing insights from real-life experiences, not just our own, but also from the countless stories shared in online communities and forums. By the end of this video, you might find that living alone isn't just a lifestyle. It's a choice that can open doors to some of the most fulfilling experiences imaginable. Stick around, because what we're about to explore might just redefine how you view this stage of life. First of all, let's talk about what it truly means to live alone as an older man. We're not just discussing solitude here. We're exploring the kind of freedom that comes with being able to live life on your own terms. It's a kind of liberty that allows you to breathe deeper, feel more relaxed, and simply be yourself without any restrictions. Imagine waking up every morning with the understanding that you control your day and there's no one else around to influence what you do or how you do it. That feeling, the sense of owning every single moment, is like a breath of fresh air. You're no longer adjusting your desires to fit into someone else's plan. Instead, you're free to live in alignment with what makes you feel content. Let's consider how often we've compromised, bending our own preferences just to keep the peace or accommodate someone else's needs. We've all been there. Maybe it was letting someone else choose the meal plan for the week, or giving up a hobby because it took up too much shared space. When we live alone, those compromises melt away. This newfound autonomy gives us the chance to rediscover who we are and what we genuinely enjoy. We get to reintroduce ourselves to our preferences, whether it's deciding to take a long, quiet walk at sunrise or spending the entire morning experimenting with a new breakfast recipe. There's no need to ask for anyone's opinion. The choices are entirely ours. Picture this. The alarm clock goes off, but there's no urgency to jump out of bed unless you want to. You can linger under the covers, stretch out, and wake up slowly, feeling the day unravel at your own pace. Or, if you're more of an early riser, you can roll out of bed at dawn, brew your favorite coffee, and enjoy a peaceful moment before the world fully awakens. It's a unique kind of luxury, to start your day however you see fit, without the usual rush or obligations that come with sharing a space. And when we can design these moments for ourselves, we begin to find comfort in our own company. Then there's the beauty of rediscovering hobbies and passions. How often have we put our interests on the back burner because life got in the way? Living alone gives us the room, both physically and mentally, to pick up those hobbies again. Think about the freedom to create a space that's solely dedicated to something you love. We've heard stories of men transforming their spare rooms into mini libraries, art studios, or music corners. Take, for example, the man who filled his living room with art supplies, allowing him to paint whenever inspiration struck. He didn't have to worry about mess or noise. He simply immersed himself in his creative process. This level of focus and freedom to explore one's creativity is something only those who live alone truly experience. Now, let's talk about how this freedom extends to our homes. When you're the only one living there, every room becomes a blank canvas. You can decide exactly how each space will serve you. Perhaps you turn the dining room into a workshop for your crafts, or the spare bedroom into a meditation retreat. No negotiation is needed, no compromises to make. You are the sole architect of your environment. This kind of personal expression gives us a sense of ownership that is both fulfilling and empowering. It becomes your sanctuary, a place where every object, every piece of furniture reflects your personality and desires. Beyond the physical space, it's also about how you structure your day. You're no longer bound to routines set by others. Want to exercise in the afternoon? Go for it. Feel like taking a long hot bath in the middle of the day? Why not? There's no one to question your choices or suggest a different plan. And it's in this unrestricted flow that we discover what truly nourishes us. When we follow our natural rhythm, we find energy and joy that we may have missed while catering to others' schedules. Let's bring in another story. We knew an older gentleman who moved into his own place after years of shared living. His passion was music, specifically playing the piano. But in his previous living situation, the piano was tucked away, and he rarely found time to play without feeling like he was disturbing someone else. Once he started living alone, he set up the piano in his favorite spot and began to play whenever he felt like it, sometimes late into the night. He described it as rediscovering a piece of himself that had been hidden away. This is the kind of profound joy that living alone can bring, the joy of reconnecting with the things that light up our spirit. Freedom also means designing your daily rituals without interruption. You get to decide when to eat, what to eat, and how to spend your leisure time. Imagine cooking dinner at midnight, because that's when you feel like experimenting with a new recipe, or spending a whole weekend indulging in a series of documentaries without having to justify your choices to anyone. The silence and solitude become a fertile ground for nurturing your desires. This uninterrupted time allows you to dive deep into activities, whether it's reading, writing, crafting, or simply sitting quietly with your thoughts. It's here, in these undisturbed moments, that we begin to find a kind of inner peace. This freedom gives us the chance to live simply. When we live alone, we're free to declutter, to shed the things that no longer serve us, and to fill our lives only with what brings us joy. We can make our homes minimalist, or as richly decorated as we like. There's no need to fill our spaces with things we don't love, just because they serve someone else's needs. This simplicity opens up room for us to focus on what truly matters, bringing a sense of tranquility that shared living often lacks. Another layer of this experience is the absence of judgment. We don't have to explain our habits or justify our choices. If we want to leave the dishes until the morning or spread out a project across the dining room table for days, it's perfectly okay. We live by our own rules, which fosters a deep acceptance of who we are. This absence of outside scrutiny allows us to explore our likes and dislikes more freely, fostering self-discovery and self-acceptance. And let's not overlook the small but significant pleasures. There's a unique satisfaction in choosing exactly what to watch on TV without negotiating, in playing music as loud as you want, or in turning off all devices for a quiet evening of reflection. These seemingly simple choices become the building blocks of a life lived in alignment with your own preferences. It's in these moments that we realize how fulfilling it can be to live according to our own terms. Living alone also means having the freedom to listen to our inner thoughts more clearly. Without the chatter and distractions of others, we become more attuned to our inner voice. We begin to notice what we truly want and need, and in this process, we find ourselves becoming more mindful and more in harmony with our own lives. This solitude offers a space for reflection and growth, where we can explore our dreams and make plans without interference. Then, it's about the joy of being comfortable in our own skin. We start to appreciate our own company and find fulfillment in the quiet moments. When we live alone, we're not just building a life that reflects our individuality, we're building a life that nurtures our well-being. We create a home that feels like a true sanctuary, a place where we can be exactly who we are and find peace in that authenticity. It's a life of freedom, filled with moments that are entirely, beautifully our own. The number 2 we want to share with you is peace and quiet. Now, we know that tranquility is often highlighted as one of the most cherished benefits of living alone, especially as we grow older. After years spent juggling family responsibilities, work commitments, and the whirlwind of daily life, many older men find themselves drawn to the quiet stillness that solo living offers. It's a chance to rediscover the simple, profound moments that get lost in the noise of a bustling household. Picture this. You wake up to a morning that belongs entirely to you. There's no rush to meet the needs of others, no pressing obligations to disturb the calmness that surrounds you. You brew a cup of coffee, and as you take that first warm sip, you look out of the window to the stillness of the world. The quiet becomes your companion, a gentle reminder of the peace you've been yearning for. This is not just about the absence of sound, but rather the presence of an internal calm that only solitude can bring. When we talk about peace, we're not just referring to the absence of chatter or noise. It's the feeling of having space to breathe, to think without interruption, and to be fully present with our own thoughts. This peace becomes a sanctuary where we can reflect on the journey we've taken so far, the lessons we've learned, and the person we've become. It's in this quiet that we often find our most authentic selves, free from the roles we play for others. Living alone offers the unique opportunity to shape our environment to suit our needs. We can create a space that truly reflects who we are and what brings us comfort. Whether it's a cozy reading nook, a balcony where we can sit and watch the world go by, or a quiet room for meditation, this solitude becomes a canvas for self-expression. In this peaceful environment, we find it easier to unwind, to let go of the stresses of the day, and to simply be. Now, let's consider how this peace and quiet can benefit us mentally and emotionally. The stillness we experience can help reduce stress, lower anxiety, and promote a sense of well-being. It's in these quiet moments that we can practice mindfulness, being fully present in each breath, each thought, and each feeling that arises. When we have time to sit with ourselves in silence, we develop a deeper understanding of our own needs and desires, allowing us to make choices that align with our values. One of the most profound aspects of living alone is the chance to engage in reflection. We're able to revisit memories, think through experiences, and make peace with parts of our past that we might have overlooked in the busyness of life. This reflection isn't about dwelling on what was, but rather embracing what is, the present moment that's rich with the opportunity for growth and self-discovery. We can't underestimate the value of mornings spent in peace. Imagine waking up, stretching, and slowly easing into the day at our own pace. There's no rush, no demands. We can spend time listening to the sounds of nature, the birds singing, the wind rustling through the trees. These seemingly small moments fill our lives with a sense of serenity, grounding us in the here and now. Living alone also gives us the freedom to explore our own hobbies and interests without interruption. Whether it's reading, gardening, painting, or simply enjoying a cup of tea in silence, we have the space to engage in activities that bring us joy and relaxation. This freedom is a gift we give ourselves, a way of nurturing our soul and honoring the life we've built. Now, some might worry that too much quiet could lead to loneliness, but let's look at this from another perspective. When we embrace solitude as an opportunity for self-connection, it becomes a source of strength rather than a void to fill. We start to see that peace and quiet are not empty spaces, but rather places where we can recharge, reflect, and regain our inner balance. In this peaceful environment, we also become more in tune with our own needs. We learn to listen to what our body and mind are telling us, whether it's the need for rest, movement, or simply the joy of doing nothing at all. By honoring these signals, we cultivate a sense of self-care that enriches our daily experience. Imagine ending the day in the same peace with which it began. We can wind down in our own way, perhaps with a good book, a warm bath, or simply sitting in a favorite chair, feeling the quiet settle around us like a comforting blanket. This is the beauty of living alone, the freedom to shape our days in a way that nurtures our well-being. Peace and quiet also offer a unique chance to practice gratitude. As we sit in the stillness, we can take a moment to appreciate the simple things, the comfort of our home, the warmth of a morning sunbeam, the sound of our own breath. These moments of gratitude remind us that, even in solitude, our lives are filled with blessings that deserve recognition. And when we think of the long-term benefits of this tranquility, we realize that it can lead to a more centered, content way of living. We become more attuned to our own rhythms and more mindful of how we choose to spend our time. This kind of peace is not about escaping the world, but rather finding a balance that allows us to engage with life in a more thoughtful and fulfilling way. So, when we embrace the peace and quiet that comes with living alone, we're not just filling an empty space, we're creating a sanctuary for our minds and hearts. This is a space where we can reconnect with ourselves, find clarity in our thoughts, and savor the simple joys that often go unnoticed. In this solitude, we discover that peace is not just the absence of noise, but the presence of a deeper sense of contentment. Can you guess the number 3? That's right, personal growth and self-exploration. Living alone as an older man, it's like being handed a golden opportunity to truly dive into the depths of who you are. Think about it. No more constant interruptions or the hustle of daily routines that once drowned out your inner voice. Now, you have the precious time and space to reflect on your life, your past decisions, and what you envision for your future. It becomes an eye-opening journey, one where you start to unravel the layers that have covered up your true self over the years. Imagine this. You've been filling various roles for most of your life, whether as a breadwinner, a partner, or a father. Each of these roles came with its own set of expectations, which often led you to push aside your personal desires and needs. Now, as you find yourself living alone, especially at an older age, it's like being handed a clean canvas. You finally have the chance to paint your life in colors that reflect who you genuinely are, not who you were expected to be. It's a rediscovery, a return to the person you've always been, hidden underneath the responsibilities and routines. Let's walk through a typical quiet morning. Picture yourself sitting with that first cup of coffee. It's peaceful, and the quiet gives you a space to think without interruptions. Your thoughts drift not to the day's tasks or obligations, but to deeper questions. Who am I really now that I'm not bound by all those roles? What truly brings me joy? What would make me feel fulfilled at this stage of my life? These are questions that you might have ignored for years, but now, in the stillness of solitude, they come to the forefront, urging you to explore them. One of the most profound aspects of living alone is this very opportunity for introspection. When we're surrounded by others, there's often too much noise and distraction to really connect with our inner thoughts. Our reactions are shaped by the world around us, and we seldom get the chance to sit quietly with our own feelings and beliefs. But when you're alone, it's like looking into a mirror, seeing reflections of your past choices, your habits, your dreams, and even your regrets. This kind of self-reflection can be incredibly enlightening. It's where genuine growth begins. Think of it as tending to a garden that had been neglected for a while. For years, you may have allowed others to plant flowers in your garden, some that brought joy and others that didn't quite suit your taste. Now it's your turn to nurture that garden, to pull out the weeds and plant seeds that resonate with your authentic desires. Maybe it's the seed of a hobby you've always wanted to pursue, a creative passion left behind in the hustle of life, or even just the joy of spending time in your own company without any outside judgment. Take Victor's story, for example. In his late 50s, he found himself at a crossroads. After a long career and a relationship that ended unexpectedly, he decided to move into a cozy cabin near a quiet lake. At first, the silence felt almost overwhelming, but slowly something began to change. In that solitude, he found himself reaching for an old journal he had kept in his youth. He started writing down his thoughts, not expecting much. Yet, as the words flowed onto the pages, he began to rediscover dreams and passions that had been buried under years of responsibilities. As Victor continued journaling, he found an unexpected love for philosophy, something he had always been curious about but never had time to explore. The tranquility of his cabin became his sanctuary, where he could explore new ideas and reflect on his life without distraction. His journey wasn't a dramatic transformation overnight. Rather, it was a slow, gradual reconnection with his inner self. This process brought him a clarity and peace that had long eluded him. We all have the potential for such personal growth when we embrace the opportunity to live alone. It might start with something simple, picking up a book you've always meant to read, learning a new recipe in the kitchen, or just sitting quietly, paying attention to the rhythm of your breath. Each small action is an act of self-care. a way of nurturing who you are beyond the roles you've played for others. You begin to see personal growth not as a destination, but as an ongoing journey, one where every day holds the promise of a new discovery. Solitude also compels us to confront our own thoughts and emotions. It's easy to avoid self-reflection when we're constantly surrounded by people and activities. But in the quiet of living alone, we're faced with our own company. You start noticing patterns in your behavior, the automatic reactions to certain situations, and even the beliefs that may have been holding you back. This self-awareness is a crucial step toward growth. It gives you the ability to consciously make changes, to choose how you want to think, feel, and act moving forward. Let's be clear though, this journey isn't always comfortable. Personal growth often involves moments of discomfort, facing regrets, and admitting our fears. But it's precisely in these challenging moments that we find our strength. It's through exploring our inner world that we become more resilient and authentic. The man who emerges from this process is often wiser, kinder to himself, and more attuned to what truly matters in life. Another profound aspect of living alone is the chance to develop contentment with our own company. We often look to others to validate our happiness, but when we learn to find joy in solitude, we become less reliant on external affirmation. This is incredibly empowering. It means that your sense of self-worth becomes independent of others' opinions or the roles you've fulfilled in the past. Living alone allows you to be your own companion, to savor the small, quiet moments, and to listen to what your mind and body truly need. You learn to find delight in the simplicity of daily life. Whether it's a walk in the park, cooking a meal just for yourself, or sitting in stillness, these experiences teach you that growth is not a final achievement, but a series of ongoing, self-affirming choices. The next one will tell it to you is all about control over your environment. Now, when we say control, we're not talking about some kind of obsessive need to micromanage every little detail. No, it's deeper than that. Living alone gives you the freedom to shape your surroundings in a way that aligns with your values, your habits, and even your quirks. And trust us, there is something incredibly empowering about walking into a space that you've designed to match exactly who you are. Think about it. When you have your own place, you get to decide how everything flows. You want the living room to be filled with books and cozy blankets? Done. You prefer a minimalist setup with just the essentials neatly arranged? That's your choice. This level of control might seem small on the surface, but in reality, it's a powerful form of self-expression. Every piece of furniture, every painting on the wall, every plant you decide to care for is a reflection of your personality. And the best part? There's no one else around to question it. Your environment becomes your canvas, a true representation of your inner world. We remember a time when our friend Victor went through a significant life change. He found himself living alone after years of sharing a home. At first, it felt strange, even a little daunting. But as the days passed, he realized something liberating. He could decorate, rearrange, or even leave things exactly where he wanted. Victor had a deep appreciation for art, and one of his passions was collecting vintage cameras. When he was married, his collection was tucked away in boxes, seldom seen. But now, he took those cameras out and displayed them proudly in a room he called his gallery. This wasn't just about showing off his collection. It was about embracing a part of himself that had been waiting for expression. When we talk about creating a living space that feels uniquely yours, we're diving into the heart of what makes solitude so enriching. You have the power to decide not just how your home looks, but how it feels. Whether it's the scent of candles burning in the evening, the sound of your favorite music playing softly in the background, or even the temperature of the room. These details, although small, shape your day-to-day experiences. They become a backdrop to your life, and when you control them, you're not just making a space, you're crafting an environment that nurtures your well-being. Now, let's touch on something many of us often overlook: the impact of our environment on our mood and mental state. Have you ever noticed how stepping into a cluttered room can make you feel overwhelmed? Or how a tidy, well-organized space can bring a sense of calm? When you're living alone, you have the chance to create spaces that uplift you. You get to decide whether to embrace a clean, minimalist style that clears your mind, or a more relaxed, lived-in ambiance that feels like a warm hug at the end of a long day. It's all about tuning into what makes you feel most at peace. And let's be clear, having this kind of control isn't about perfection. It's not about maintaining an immaculate home every single day. Some days, you might find joy in leaving the dishes until tomorrow, letting the books pile up on the coffee table as you dive into one story after another. Other days, you might feel like giving your space a fresh start, sweeping through each room and putting things back in order. The point is, you get to decide. Your home becomes a reflection of your current state, a mirror of your thoughts and feelings. It's this dynamic relationship with your environment that makes living alone such a unique experience. We often hear stories from people who've transitioned to living alone and discovered newfound hobbies and interests simply because they had freedom to explore them in their own space. One of our clients, Jean, found that she loved tending to indoor plants. Before, she never would have thought to fill her apartment with greenery. But now, her living room has become a mini jungle, filled with plants that she cares for with joy. She told us how watering those plants and watching them grow became a part of her morning ritual. It's a small thing, yes, but it brings her peace and a sense of accomplishment. This is the magic of having control over your environment. It allows you to create a space that not only looks like you, but feels like you. And let's not forget the freedom to change things up whenever you feel like it. Living alone means you can wake up one morning and decide that you want to rearrange the furniture or repaint the walls a different color. There's no need to consult with anyone, no compromises to make. This flexibility can be incredibly refreshing. It reminds us that our living space, just like our lives, is always evolving. It's an ongoing project, and we get to be the artist, shaping it as we see fit. We should also consider how this control extends to the little daily routines. Want to leave your shoes by the door because that's what makes sense to you? Go ahead. Prefer to keep your kitchen counters clear of clutter? Or maybe you like to have your favorite spices and utensils within arm's reach? That's your call. These small choices might seem insignificant, but they add up, creating an environment that works for you, not against you. For many people, this level of control is a source of comfort. It's a reminder that while we can't always predict what happens in the world outside, we can cultivate a sanctuary within our own walls. It becomes a place where you can retreat, recharge, and truly be yourself. And when life throws its inevitable challenges your way, you'll have a space that grounds you, reminding you of who you are and what matters to you. Living alone also allows you to experiment with your environment in ways you might not have considered before. Ever thought of creating a reading nook by the window or turning that empty corner into a meditation space? When you live alone, you can try these ideas without hesitation. You get to explore what makes you feel most at home. And if something doesn't work out the way you envisioned, no worries, you can change it. Your space becomes a playground for your creativity. It's not just about the physical arrangement of things either. It's also about the atmosphere you cultivate. Want to wake up to the scent of freshly brewed coffee filling the room? You can set that up. Prefer to end your evenings with soft lighting and the sound of gentle music? You have the freedom to create that routine. These choices might seem trivial, but over time, they build a life that feels uniquely satisfying because it's designed entirely by you, for you. As you think about what living alone means, remember that it's not merely about solitude. It's about empowerment. It's about claiming your space in the world and shaping it to reflect your identity, passions, and desires. Whether you're meticulously arranging every detail or letting things fall into a comfortable chaos, it's your domain. And in that domain, you find not just comfort, but also the joy of being able to express who you are without any reservations. And when you walk into that room, like our friend Victor with his vintage camera gallery, it's a daily reminder of your journey, your tastes, and your story. And isn't that a wonderful thing to have? Let's talk about what it truly means to embrace the experience of living alone as an older man. It goes far beyond the idea of solitude. It's about welcoming a lifestyle that brings a deep sense of peace, freedom, and self-discovery. This stage of life offers a unique chance to connect with who we are at our core, to explore passions and hobbies that perhaps have been waiting in the wings, and to carve out a life that is genuinely and uniquely ours. Imagine the possibilities that come with this choice. Picture the quiet mornings that allow us to reflect, the evenings spent pursuing activities that ignite joy, and the simple freedom to create our days according to our own preferences. It's about having a sanctuary where we can unwind, where there are no pressures to meet anyone else's expectations, and where we can nurture our own growth. For many, the decision to live alone opens up a world of financial independence, a chance to manage life on their own terms. It's about finding fulfillment in the small things, whether it's the tranquility of a peaceful home, the luxury of time to read a book uninterrupted, or the opportunity to reconnect with dreams that may have been set aside. If you find yourself considering this path, know that you're not alone. Countless men have stepped into this chapter of life and discovered a profound sense of reward and meaning. It's not just a journey, it's a transformation that could lead to one of the most enriching experiences you've ever had. We encourage you to take that leap, and if you're already walking this road, we'd love to hear your stories. Your experiences could offer insight and inspiration to others who are contemplating the same. Please feel free to share in the comments. And if you found this discussion helpful, consider liking and subscribing to stay connected with more content that speaks to choices like these. We appreciate you being here with us today.